Hello, everybody, and welcome back to MV Simsports for the GT Sprint Series Americas, powered by Triple Stint and SimSwag Technologies. We are here for round one at the Circuit de la Sarthe. Le Mans awaits us. Broadcast by HyPrix Studios, and my name is Jarvis Coyd. I'm the play-by-play commentator. In production is Julia Marquez. Eitan Benezra is our executive producer. Make sure to follow our socials at HyPrix on Instagram, X, Facebook, and YouTube. The track, it's a classic one, the longest track on the calendar. It's 13.626 kilometers with a tarmac. It's 26. It opened on the 26th of May, 1923. The GT3 lap record is a 3-minute 53.802 by Hadrian David in the Lexus RCF GT3 at the 2026 24 Hours of Le Mans. And of course, this is the first round of the season, July 17th, here at Le Mans. It's the longest race on the calendar as well, 100 minutes. But it's round 106, and you can see the rest of the calendar there. Sebring, Hockenheimring, Road America, Detroit, and Daytona await us in the next 5 rounds after it. And if you want to get some high quality gloves for your own questionable quality sim racers, triplestint.com awaits you. Make sure to go to the website and buy your apparel there. And for both sim racing socks and a pedal set, go to SimSwag Technologies. Check out their website for both apparel and sim racing gear. Good quality for good prices, and they await you. So make sure to follow MV Simsports on Instagram, X, and Facebook. The handle is at MV Simsports. And also go to the website mvsimsports.com to sign up to events, check the results, standings, etc. And yeah, out on track, it is starting to look a bit wet. Weather is replicated between the European and Americas series, so we can expect a wet qualifying at the start of this event. Right now in practice, it is a little bit wet out there. In fact, the qualifying has started. John Cannon, we're watching right now, the 51 Porsche out on track currently. And it's a one singular lap for each of these cars, as the session was made that way. And John Cannon driving the 51 Porsche, lost out if we are replicating what happened in Europe, in the European series, crashed at Indianapolis at the final lap. ended up behind Mora in the European Series. This time, it's a new session, a new championship, quote unquote, standings. And let's see if it works out for him. There are also other cars out there. Everybody is out for their first laps. And if we're looking at the sectors, it is Travis Allen in... No, not Travis Allen. Virgilio Garcia with a 40.399. 40.1 for Stephen Shade as well. They have set the fastest sectors one so far in this wet qualifying session. 29.6 seems to be the thing there, and that's a Mercedes spinning round. That is Wayne Gardner in the Mercedes, and he's gone back into the pits. And there's also a solitary Mercedes at the Porsche curves as well. We're watching right now Jimmy Evans in the red, white and blue Corvette, cutting across to gravel, perhaps not used to the wet conditions just yet. And he stopped almost immediately. That's his qualifying over, as it is just a one-lap session. We're watching currently Devin Pascoe for the Ford Mustang as he heads into turn 1 and turn 2, braking hard. Pick your braking points. And relatively stable over turns 2 and 3. But drivers soon completing their first laps of the session. I believe the first one may be John Cannon as well. No. Okay, he's off track. So John Cannon hasn't been able to set a lap time so far. But we'll see if anybody else can. Currently watching Trey Mango in the amateur class. Trey Mango with a 922 number. Stephen Shade with the fastest couple of sectors you can see at the bottom there. Nobody's setting a lap time obviously just yet. We're just 4 minutes into qualifying for this one lap showdown into Indianapolis. It's a tricky corner in both the dry and the wet. Gotta take it easy. This right-hander awaits you. And getting a little bit of oversteer, but controllable as he heads into the Porsche curves. All you need to do is to set a lap, and you'll propel yourself half the field probably, because there's going to be quite the majority of where drivers won't set lap times with this one lap format that we have in the first round so far. Trey Mango will be the first one to set a lap time, followed up by Travis Allen, then Stephen Shade, and then Virgilio Garcia. Stephen Shade, out of the 4 on the bottom, you can see, is probably the quickest by our estimations. Trey Mango, the amateur driver, will set the first lap time, however. No Porsche Cup cars in the standings today, but we do have about 28 drivers competing in this event for the first round of the Americas. Trey Mango will come across the line. The 922 will center benchmark, and it will be a 4:30.733. Travis Allen, the next one to come across the line. No, he stopped. The 33. No, wait, that's Stephen Shade in the McLaren stopped. And Allen beats out Mango, 4:29.713. He's done for this session. Virgilio Garcia, the pro driver, where does he go? Garcia comes across the line, and the time will be... No, he doesn't set a lap time. Gutierrez with a 4:36. Zachary Manuel, the next one across the line, the 13 car. McLaren sets the fastest final sector. Is it enough to get ahead? Yeah. 4:28.164. 1.5 seconds now. Eric Bosius in the amateur 69 Porsche. Not setting a lap time. That is Scott Farrell facing the wrong direction. So his lap time is over. Brick Lawson, next one to come across the line in the Ferrari 15 car. What does he set? Lawson goes into second place, 4 and a bit tenths of a second away from Manuel. Then we've got Javi Sierra. Sierra goes into third place. That's the pro driver, 74 thousandths away from Lawson. The white is the GT3 Silver. Red is pro, orange is amateur. Cameron Dyson making his way across the line now in a 177 Porsche, and he will set a lap time that's good enough for pole position, a 427.150 provisional pole position so far. Gets ahead of Manuel by 1 second. Lucien Breedlove not setting a lap time. We got Kamari Odom in the 99 car, not setting it. Oh, Alvarez shows up once again from the European racetrack, the European series to Americas, and it's a 422.667. Joshua D'Arlucio goes into third place, 4 tenths away from Dyson. And got Dallas Baran going into second place, 2 seconds away from provisional pole. Benjamin Burrows and Eduardo Padilla, the next one to come across the line. We're watching. Oh, that's a 95 Aston Martin of Eduardo Padilla. He's going to come across the line, reversing, and that's not going to be a lap time to climb up the order. Burrows across the line, nothing there. Drew Cooper, next one. No lap times being set again. Wayne Gardner across the line. It doesn't seem like anybody setting second lap times. And it's because Stephen Shade, yeah, this is done. This is your qualifying order. From 10 lap times being set, Alvarez in first place, Baran 2 seconds further back with a 424.7 for Baran. Dyson in third, D'Arlucio in fourth, Manuel in fifth, Lawson in sixth, Sierra seventh, Allen in eighth, Mango in ninth, Gutierrez in 10th. We have about 18 drivers not setting lap times in qualifying, and that is the session over. And once again, it is the MV Simsports GT Sprint Americas for round one here at the circuit de la Sarthe. And make sure to follow MV Simsports on all social medias, on Instagram, X, and Facebook at MV Simsports is the handle. And make sure to go to the website, mvsimsports.com. So the weather is looking like it's going to be 71 degrees Fahrenheit in the race. It was pretty cloudy, pretty stable weather, not high mile per hour winds. And commentary by yours truly, Jarvis Coy. Design production by Pixteca, also known as Julian Marquez. Race direction by MV Simsports. And executive producers, Ejtan Benezra. So the calendar, as mentioned, it's a bit of a variety in terms of the formats for each of the events. Le Mans is the longest race on the calendar, 100 minutes. Sebring, the next longest, with a 70-minute race. Hockenheimring with a 2-heat format, 30 minutes each at the Hockenheimring, 60 minutes at Road America. Similar to the Hockenheimring, Detroit is also 2 heats with 30 minutes. Daytona being the last one is an hour long, as well as Road America. So from Le Mans to Sebring is a 2-week break. So is from Sebring to Hockenheimring, and then it's a week-by-week basis from round 3 onwards. August 7th to August 14th, then 21st, then 28th. We've got an American sprint for round 4, 5, and 6. MV, this event is brought to you by Triple Stint and SimSwag Technologies. Also following those two sponsors, Coach Dave Academy, SimGrid, Heathers, Jewelry Hut, and Rogue Energy, also your sponsors, as we make our way towards the warm-up. Oh no, qualifying, is it still happening? Yes, it is. We've still got about 4.5 minutes of qualifying remaining left to go, despite it being a one-lap shootout for this event. That will be changing, however, 15 minutes qualifying verbatim from round 2 onwards. A few drivers out there. We're watching Wayne Gardner in the... never mind. And that is, I believe, qualifying over, question mark. There we go. Okay, we're heading into the 5-minute warm-up now. This allows the drivers, if they haven't already, to get some water, go to the toilet, and yeah, just a bit of downtime in between races. But these are our qualifying results. Alberto Alvarez lines up in first place, pole position, ahead of Dallas Barron. 2 seconds further back. Then Cameron Dyson, Joshua D'Lucio, Zachary Manuel, Brick Lawson, Javi Sierra, Travis Allen, Trey Mangote, and Diego Gutierrez rounds off the top 10. That was basically your entire qualifying time set, because everybody below the top 10 hasn't set lap times from 11th to, I believe, is it 28th that we've got? So 18 drivers in total haven't set qualifying lap times. But it will be Joseph Yang, Patrick Brady from onwards downwards. Yeah, 28 cars. So from 11th downwards, they have, it looks like it's formatted to each of the pro, silver, and amateur drivers respectively in that order. But in between those disciplines, it's completely random for what I presume. So yeah, that's what it looks like for qualifying. But it is the longest race on the calendar. 100 minutes awaits us, and anything can happen in those 100 minutes. As we see drivers start to get the feeling of a dry track once again, as we are currently 1.5 minutes into this warm-up. We're currently watching Benjamin Burrows, the 777 amateur driver, who, as a fun fact, is a rookie with a... he's a rookie licensed driver, so he's not... yeah, so this is an interesting event for him, driving out there here today at the Circuit de la Sarthe. 3 minutes left to go of this warm-up. Lucien Breedlove, I believe, if I'm correct in my facts, the owner of SimSwag Technologies, currently driving the Ford Mustang, the 247, will be looking to go to get a good result here today. He lines up in 26th place, and he'll want to climb back up to a decent result. It's a race of attrition. So let's see if he can do a decent one here today. Currently spectating Joseph Yang, the 551 Mustang, also in a bit of a train with some other GT3s. We're seeing a few more Mustangs than we did in Europe. In fact, the only Mustang of note in the European race was Alberto Alvarez, who lines up on pole position here. So a few more Mustangs. It's the America Series after all. Some people are more fans of the Ford Mustang than others. So, yeah, Joseph Yang driving the red, white, and blue Ford Mustang heading into Indianapolis. He will be as a amateur driver. Is he? Oh, yeah, no, I lied myself. I lied. He's the pro driver here. Apologies. And he will be looking to get a good result from... He hasn't qualified, so he lines up 11th overall behind the cars that did set lap times. We were watching Javi Sierra, who is the fastest amateur driver. No, God. Yeah, the orange and red are really mixing me up, unfortunately, my bad. Javi Sierra lines up 3rd in GT3 Pro, but 9th, 7th overall. So he'll be looking to climb up to 3rd place overall. Didn't get the best qualifying out of. I mean, qualifying in the wet, probably not the most representative in terms of outright pace, but you gotta be there when you need it. Good luck to everybody out on the track here today. A race of attrition immediately. The first and hardest test that you can possibly have at the first round of a GT Sprint Series. 100 minutes at Le Mans. All good. Yes. So we got about 20 seconds left of this warm-up, and drivers starting to stop. No Porsche Cups here today, as it was in the European version of this event. So no rogue 5th place Porsche Cups starting off on the formation lap and into turn 1. And that is it for this warm-up. Getting a taste of some dry track, thankfully. Hopefully in their minds. But gridding up for the start of 100 minutes of this event. Everybody cannot wait to get started to barrel down into turns 1 and 2 for the heavy braking zone. We've seen in the other version of events the pole position of Philip Ansel cutting across the 3rd corner in the first lap. Let's see how these drivers take on turns 1, 2, and 3. Hopefully no major incidents. And the drivers getting ready to get started. It's Alberto Alvarez, who came in 2nd place in the European version. In the Americas, he's in pole. 28 cars await to be gridded. It's 2 pro drivers lining up 1 and 2, and 4 silver drivers behind that, and everyone seems to be gridded as the safety car will soon pull away. And so they do. It's a short formation lap. They start on the straight before the Porsche curves. Drivers trying to get heat in by weaving side to side with the new tyre update. This does work now that it didn't before. And we'll see exactly what happens. We've still got a few cars that haven't started this race. Joseph Yang, Virgilio Garcia, and John Cannon haven't taken to the grid yet, so they're starting in the pits. And that is not a good start for them. They'll go be avoiding the rest of the pack here. Up ahead will be 25 cars into turn 1. But as they make their way through the Porsche curves slowly, there they are. I believe this is the first time we've seen the Huracan take into the track. I believe, if I'm looking at this correctly as well, that's the only Huracan on track. Dallas Barron, the Australian, has chosen the Huracan here at Le Mans. And it's going to be a Mustang versus a Huracan for P1 honours in Pro. The variety of colours that we see on the field currently. A GT Sprint. 100 minutes awaits us. Oh, Barron disconnecting. The Australian internet not having the best of times at this start. Hopefully it does not become a reoccurring appearance. But we'll see what exactly happens. The safety car pulls into the pits. Alvarez for Stop Esports Racing will take to the grid. And it's a green flag racing almost immediately. And the Huracan of Barron immediately under threat from both D'Arlusio and Dyson. Dyson in the Porsche, the 177, looking to go to the inside of turn 1, battling out for the overall lead. It will be Alvarez on the inside of turn 2. Dyson on the outside, and it's going to be off track on as what's happening. And it is Barron going off track. Alvarez in P1. No, it's not. Barron takes off track to go maybe into the race lead. No, Alvarez into the race lead. Dyson in P2. Barron is going to go down the inside, heated to stay in 2nd place. And it will be Lawson in P4. But he's going side by side. Several cars going through. No incidents so far from the first look at the start of the first sector, but it will be Sierra versus Manuel, and it's going to be incredibly close here. And also Lawson versus Manuel. It's 3 wide heading into the first chicane. We've got 3x2 grid in terms of cars heading into the first chicane. Nope, they go back into relatively equal to equal odds, and it's Lawson trying to get ahead of Manuel. Manuel not being able to fight back. He is fighting back into the inside of the next corner, the chicane. That's Manuel in the McLaren, the purple and blue McLaren. As we see Brady, Allen, and Allen in the BMW. And Brady in the Marlboro BMW trying to fight with the Ford Mustang of D'Arlusio. D'Arlusio hasn't had the best of starts. In fact, he's dropped back about 5 places from where he started. He started in P3, I believe, as he's now under threat from losing another place to go down, maybe, into P9. D'Arlusio switches to the inside, and he's defending from the BMW. The BMW, no, it's contact between D'Arlusio and Brady. And the Ford Mustang is on the gravel, and he's going to lose even more places. It's a nightmare start from D'Arlusio. Goes from bad to even worse. Started in P4, and now is out of the points. P15. Now it's a battle for the race lead. Alvarez versus Barron. The Italian-colored Huracan will take the race lead away from Alvarez halfway through the first lap, but it's door-to-door heading towards Indianapolis. We've seen several battles into Indianapolis. Some end well, some end badly. Alvarez looks like to go from the outside to the inside in that complex of corners. The Mustang slightly pulling ahead of the Huracan, but will it matter? They're equal to equal. More equal than you think. The Huracan to the inside, then it's the outside. The Mustang will stay in the race lead. The Huracan can't do anything about it. Alvarez in the race lead, 3 tenths ahead of Barron. Dyson a second further back from the Huracan, and we can expect a battle for the lead for the rest of this race as we watch Evans versus Orellana, and it's all heading into the ball, and it's a whole concertina effect. It's 4 cars involved in that incident. Even further ahead, you can see there's a Mustang, 2 Mustangs involved in the wall there. I think that's Luciano as well. Oh my goodness me. That's a BMW heading into the barriers as a Porsche missing its rear wing. Oh, there's 6 cars, I believe, or 7. Evans with a meatball flag. They'll have to continue on. Barron versus Allen versus Brady, I mean, heading through the Porsche curves. A heavy incident for 6 cars at the start of this race. Brady 2 tenths away. In fact, it's 2 teammates in the same part of the racetrack. They need to work together despite each other, I believe, being in separate licenses. Although Alan and Manuel are teammates, I mean, I was looking at the wrong cars. There's 3 McLarens who are competing in the same team. Brady in the BMW is all by himself in the Marlboro BMW. Manuel versus Allen is the battle for teammates in the McLarens, and it will be Manuel versus Allen. Manuel getting the best of Allen. But the BMW, oh no! It's contact to the BMW, and thus contact between teammates. That has not ended well for the McLarens. And that is Lau missing a front bumper for Box for Hard Motorsports, and he's going to lose a lot of downforce, already dropping out of the top 10 now. Sierra versus Dyson for the overall P3. Dyson could lose a place here to the McLaren, and he has done so. Sierra taking to the racing line now, doesn't think that Dyson will fight back into the first chicane, but he's weaving slightly in the middle of the racetrack, trying to break a semblance of slipstream. Dyson looking to fight back into the next chicane, breaks a little bit later. Dyson desperately keeping the P3 overall, and he has done so, but he might be slightly hampered here at the exit. Sierra pursuing the Porsche with malice, perhaps. As we see the 177 defending on the inside versus the McLaren, and that's Lawson in the white Ferrari, waiting to see what exactly happens. Dyson still in P3 in overall standing. Sierra trying to take that away from the Porsche. And Sierra versus Dyson. into the second chicane. And it's 3 wide. The Ferrari trying to involve himself into this 2-car battle. And they will continue on as it was. But Pascoe versus Padilla. Padilla in the Aston Martin, Pascoe in the Ford Mustang. And they end up swapping places. Pascoe is still ahead of Padilla. Meanwhile, in the race lead, Alvarez versus Barron. Still, they're pulling away. 5 seconds separating P2 and P3. And Barron now tucking under the slipstream heading into Indianapolis. In the further back, you can see almost a 3-car battle. That's what we were looking at before. But we'll focus on the race lead. The Italian car, the Huracan versus the American Mustang. It's 11 versus 29. Heading into Indianapolis, does the Huracan go for the inside of the heavy braking zone? No, he hangs back for now. Sierra versus Dyson might switch, however. No, they're perfectly fine in the background. Brady loses out to Allen. Padilla losing places to Pascoe. And, well, Alvarez versus Barron, they continue on as it was. But, yeah, this 3-car battle is getting a little bit heated. The Ferrari versus McLaren concertina effect. A major part, the McLaren activating its headlights, heading down towards the Porsche curves. This is the battle for the overall podium. Sierra is comfortably in P3 in the GT3 Pro. But Lawson wants to get ahead of Dyson. So that's why he's trying to get past Pro McLaren desperately to try to take the lead away from Dyson. It's incredibly close, and the McLaren slightly out of shape, taking the wrong line through the first parts of the Porsche curves. Allen losing places to Brady as well in the background, but we'll focus on this battle for now. Allen's losing several places. In fact, Allen's having a fair bit of trouble, apparently. As we see. Still, this battle, the 3-car battle that you see here, has allowed Zachary Manuel to catch back up. And, oh, yeah, Odom in the 15 Mustang getting past Lau. Yeah, we have to mention this. Lost his front bumper at the start of the last lap. And he will go into the pits to do a fast repair. The lead for the race, the Huracan versus the Mustang. Once again, Brady also coming into the pits. Huracan betting the better exit. Getting down into towards this fast section of corners. You don't really know if the Huracan is going to go for the move, or will he be saving his tyres and fuel? Not too sure. We'll see what exactly happens. But it's close battles everywhere that you see. And we'll see what happens here. No, Dyson isn't. Dyson is under pressure. No, we're watching Padilla versus Orellana, and the Aston Martin going down the inside. Both cars going slightly wide, and the McLaren getting the better exit out of the 2. Tucks under slipstream. We'll switch to the inside line. Padilla in the Aston Martin. Orellana in the McLaren. Lawson versus Dyson, they swap places, but we're also watching Padilla versus Orellana, and I believe that Orellana will keep this place. Padilla in 10th, Orellana in 9th. For the race lead, once again, Alvarez versus Barron. 1.5 tenths splits the 2 cars, and this will keep going on forever, it seems. And both cars not relenting. The Huracan will start to get sick of seeing the Ford Mustang's rear lights, I imagine. As Dyson versus Lawson, they swap places. But the race lead starting to heat up. The Mustang defending on the inside of the next corner, which is a right-hander by a heavy braking zone. They go door to door between our race leaders. The Ford Mustang defending on the inside as much as he possibly can. It's half attempt splitting 2 cars. It's as close as you can get. But no, the Huracan backs out of it. Doesn't go for the move. Meanwhile, Lawson versus Manuel versus Dyson. And the white Ferrari still behind these cars. In fact, he's lost places. Manuel's gained up 1 as the McLaren pulling away from the Porsche of Dyson. Sierra now takes his 3rd place overall. This is for the race lead in GT3 Silver as gravel is pulled up in the background. Meanwhile, GT3 Pro race lead, Barron behind Alvarez. 2 tenths of a second heading into Indianapolis. Will they go for it? No, sensible. Keeps going on as it was. better run though, maybe. I mean, like, Alvarez is feeling a lot of pressure from the Huracan behind, I imagine, but it's not enough for him to make a mistake. We're on board with the Huracan here of Dallas Barron, the Australian, in the only Lamborghini in this event. He's going to be... I mean, I've got no words. This battle will keep going on forever, it looks like, and all drivers will try, and they'll probably put it on the same lap as well, due to fuel saving not being too optimal around a very long racetrack like this. There's not much you can gain by fuel saving unless you fuel save it to the maximum. Padilla versus Orellana. Padilla up into 9th place ahead of Orellana, and he's also involved in the back tackle with Allen, who hits the wall slightly on the entry of the next corner. That's not what he wanted at all. Manuel versus Lawson. It's a free wide battle between these GT3s at the final part of this lap, and the McLaren trying to go down the inside of the Ferrari, the white Ferrari, who was in last, and he's blinking, and that is the white Ferrari of Lawson. He was behind these train of cars before. There's a rogue pink Mustang now getting involved. That is Lance. We haven't talked much about Lance at all, but now he's going to poach some places here. Lawson, the leader in GT3 Silver, the 15 car, ahead of Manuel and ahead of Dyson. They're fighting for their own accolades as well, as Sierra pulls away from Lawson as expected due to their licenses. Dyson versus Lance. Lance wants to take a podium in GT3 Silver, and the concertina effect is quite mighty. The Mustang just is able to brake later than the Porsche. Terrell Lance, driving for MV Simsports, gets the better run at the exit onto the straight, and Lance makes it look almost easy, but it's door to door. And can Cameron Dyson do anything to fight back? It's still side by side. It's a drag race next to the next corner. And it looks like even after getting a better exit, the Porsche the Mustang can't do anything versus the Porsche straight line speed, and Dyson keeps 3rd place in GT3 Silver. So the Mustang has to tuck back into slipstream. Seems a bit hampered by its lack of straight line speed versus the Porsche, so it has to wait for its turn. Meanwhile, Alvarez versus Barron is once again getting close. As we head down towards the hairpin, does Barron choose? He's been backing off at the hairpin. What can he do now, though? Barron chooses to stay onto the racing line. I believe he's just going to lift off into braking, unless... Oh, yeah. Okay, so he's backed out of it again. So this is to be expected. He's done this in the last couple of laps. The main overtaking spot that he might try to do is Indianapolis. You know, I would be starting to think that he's starting to fuel save, but the fact that he's so close and he's risking everything, if the Ford Mustang brakes slightly later, he's going to rear-end him. But a mutual respect between drivers starting to brew, and the Huracan practically seeing this Ford Mustang. Yep, no moves into Indianapolis. Padilla versus Pasco, however, that's going to be an overtake. Side by side between these two cars, and McLaren trying to fit in the middle of this sandwich. Two front-engined cars being the bread, the middle-engined car being in the middle, and it's going to be side by side versus the Vantage and Mustang, and the Mustang of Pasco still staying ahead of Padilla. Orellana getting an opportunity up ahead of Eduardo Padilla. That could have ended a lot worse than it has had. And it's Orellana up ahead of Padilla. Padilla was in the front of these two three-car battle. Now it's Pasco in 8th place, Orellana in 9th, Padilla in 10th. This race lead still not relenting. The Huracan at the back of this Mustang. We've mentioned that about 5 times already in this race. It's only been about 15 minutes. And Barron getting a excursion, unsurprisingly, the third sector. That's very easy to do, is what I'm trying to say. And he has to back out of it. It's a slow down penalty. and the gap growing to 0.8 of a second here. So Baron having to serve that slowdown. Padilla versus Orellana for 9th and 10th place is once again getting heated up. It's 12 thousandths of a second between the two cars, side by side into this final complex of corners, and the McLaren still just ahead of the Aston Martin. The Aston Martin trying to gain back what was lost. They had contact between the Aston Martin and the McLaren, and Pascoe under pressure from Orellana now. Orellana turns from being the hunted to being the hunter, heading into turns 1 and 2, and the McLaren will be on the outside turn, so the Mustang will have the opportunity to defend on the inside. No, tucks back in. It's Orellana in 8th place, Pascoe in 9th, Padilla in 10th. And Padilla getting a slowdown penalty. Shade also getting a slowdown penalty, so he'll have to back off slightly in order to not get more penalties. But Padilla still hanging at the back of Pascoe, 2.5 of a second. As we're watching John Cannon, who started in the pits, has managed to gain up places to go up into 14th. Padilla now 1/10 behind Pascoe on this main straight. Padilla, the Mustang, this battle has been chopping and changing. You don't really get the same places as they were on the previous turn, and the Aston Martin, despite a bit of damage going to the inside of Devon Pascoe, Pascoe can't do anything about it, trying to get cut across. The Aston Martin of Padilla is on the Ford Mustang. My goodness me, that was close. That was too close for comfort. That could have ended in tragedy. Brosius versus Yang in 15th and 16th, also getting close, as Brosius going to the inside and not being... No, that is Brosius missing a front bumper, I mean. Padilla versus Pascoe, once again, swapping, changing. Oh dear gracious me, it just doesn't stop, does it? I mean, Dyson versus Lance now, and that's the Porsche versus the Mustang. The pink Mustang has the Porsche a bit offline, getting the worst exit out of the two, perhaps. But Dyson ahead of Lance. Orellana 1 second back from Lance. Has to look in his rear mirrors to see that Pascoe is pursuing him. Meanwhile, just up ahead, it's Lance versus Dyson to the right-hander. No chances there for the pink Mustang. A few bits of gravel strewed onto the racetrack, but it's not really impacting performance. Lance had to mention its weakness so far is, from our eyes, is that it doesn't have as much straight line speed as the Porsche, even while under slipstream. It makes it through the corners, but the Mustang looking to have a bit of space on the inside. No, backs out of it. Oh, that is the Porsche going off into the gravel, and that allows the Mustang to go side by side into the next hairpin. The Porsche defending on the inside. Dyson, oh, it's close. Close for comfort there. Lance still, and is not impressed. Still behind the Porsche. And this battle has brought Orellana, Pascoe, and Padilla into this. It's going to turn into a 5-car battle for 6th place in the overall standings. This is for the podium in GT3 Silver. In fact, all of the guys that you can see on your picture in front of you are in GT3 Silver. This is an amazing battle for what is the podium here. And Dyson is now dropping back from manual. 4.1 seconds is the gap there. But we'll carry on with this almost 5-car battle, which is a 5-car battle actually, as Orellana tries to catch back up with the Mustang. The Mustang 2 attempts away from Dyson. In the background, you see the Aston Martin versus the Ford Mustang of Padilla and Pascoe. They are dueling with each other, and the Aston Martin going down the inside of Pascoe. And the Aston Martin getting ahead. The Ford Mustang forced onto the gravel there of Lance. And Orellana looking to get this opportunity to maybe go down the inside of turn 2. Orellana wasn't this close at the start of the last lap. Heading into turn 2, the McLaren looks to be going for it. Brakes later, has a bit of contact, and the Ford Mustang is sent spinning round. And that is Lance dropping down several places. He's now 10th overall in the standings, now 11th. And Orellana will get up 1 place, but that contact, it was a bit desperate heading into turn 2. A bit of a dive bomb The Mustang getting of Pascoe now ahead of Padilla. That's going to get looked at probably by the stewards after this race. Shade having problems here in the McLaren. As you see Odom at the back of Lance, two Mustangs fighting together. Padilla versus Pascoe. Padilla has a slowdown penalty. So there's Orellana, and Padilla going up 2 places here after having a slowdown penalty. It's still side by side between Pascoe and Orellana. I have to take a breath. My goodness me, I've been speaking straight for about 15 minutes and 20 minutes or so. But it's Sierra versus Lawson now. Lawson, after being at the back of a 3-car train, is now pursuing 3rd place overall. It doesn't matter, he's in the race lead of GT3 Silver, but he'll still go for it. I mean, it's the podium overall after all. Padilla 1.5 tenths away from Orellana. And, well, heading into the next part of the racetrack, the second chicane, he chooses Padilla to go onto the racing line. The McLaren defending on the inside. Orellana will get a slightly compromised exit, but he will still have the slipstream of the Mustang climbing over the curbs. As we see on Pascoe's view, behind on what's happening, Orellana versus Padilla. And we're heading down into the right hand of the Aston Martin. Looking, is there space? Oh, braking way too late advantage, and he manages to not make contact with the Mustang. That was a stomp onto the brakes using the ABS system as much as he possibly can there, because that was extremely close, and I thought that was going to end up worse than it has. Sierra versus Lawson. Lawson, the leader in GT3 Silver. Sierra, 3rd place in GT3 Pro. Javi Silva into Indianapolis. Smart enough to not go for a move here. Knows that there are better opportunities and easier opportunities to get past this McLaren. But heading into the next corner, that looks like Lawson going down the inside. Lawson versus Sierra, and Lawson takes 3rd place overall in this race, getting ahead of the McLaren. But know that Sierra, he's not going to give up this podium place overall. Padilla versus Pascoe now. These guys have had history in this race. And you can see Lance seething behind these 4 cars, knowing that Orellana is just a little bit ahead. Lance will get his revenge in a good overtake, I imagine, not by anything else. Padilla 2 tenths away from Pascoe. And you can see the best lap times. Dyson and Pascoe getting equal fastest laps. Padilla slightly faster than Pascoe by about 5 tenths of a second. Alvarez, fastest lap overall, 3:56.537. That's our fastest laps for now, as we're watching Pascoe versus Padilla heading into the next lap. And let's see exactly what happens here. Heading out of the final corner, the Aston gets a run on the inside of the first corner, which will turn to the outside. We've seen a replication of this with a different Ford Mustang and a different car heading into turns 1 and 2. That is a cut across the track for the Aston Martin, and he'll take 7th place away from Pascoe. That's a naughty cut for through turn 1, turn 2, using as much of the track as he possibly can, but he will keep that place so far. I'm surprised that there isn't a slowdown there. But Padilla will stay ahead of Pascoe. Meanwhile, in the back row, we see John Cannon versus Shade. Shade having a few problems in the last lap at this particular section, and once again having a few problems through the line there. John Cannon looking to go to the inside. Yeah, Shade has had a fair share of problems at this section of the racetrack. Cannon now taking 13th place overall away, and Shade under pressure from Yang in the Ford Mustang, and Yang going towards the inside makes it look easy. Will he go for a double overtake? Yang overtaking both Shade and Cannon. What will the Ford Mustang do to go towards the inside, perhaps? Yep, Joseph Yang and the Canadian going to the inside, the Ford McLaren of Shade, trying to push along the Ford Mustang a little bit, trying to get a little bit of slipstream, trying to overtake John Cannon into the next corner. It's Joseph Yang getting 2 places. Shade keeping his place of 14th or 13th. ahead of Cannon, and this battle will continue on as it was. Yang will start pulling away, I imagine. Shade versus Cannon, heading into the second chicane, or the circuit that's up. Benjamin Burrows, our rookie, getting along pretty okay. 32 seconds back from everybody else of Evans, as Cannon versus Shade, they swap places, and Cannon having a fair share of a crack of a battle with the Ford Mustang of Yang there, as Alan versus Orellana's. Orellana's dropping down places, and Orellana losing out to Alan. We're looking at Dyson at the moment, who is under threat from Padilla. Padilla in the Aston Martin has been trying to go for a charge here. He was stuck at the back of Pascoe for a very long time, comparatively to everybody else. And he'll be looking to go and up into second place in GT3 Silver. Podium sitter currently. But as a reminder, this is probably the most endurance out of the sprint races. We're only 27 minutes out of 100. We're just over a quarter of the way through, and these guys are acting like it's the last lap. Like, I'm having a little bit of a crisis here. Shade versus Yang heading into Indianapolis, and Shade going around the outside makes it look easy ahead of Yang. Orellana at the back of Allen now. The two McLarens getting relatively close to one another. 4.5 tenths back. Orellana is from Allen. We're switched to Pascoe, who is a second away from Padilla. Padilla versus Dyson is starting to heat up as well. And Padilla wanting to take third place away from Dyson. And look how close the front bumper of that Aston Martin is. The pink and black Aston Martin putting pressure on Cameron Dyson. And Yang versus Shade for 14th and 15th place. They swap places as well. Yang getting ahead of Shade. It looks easy for Shade versus Yang at Indianapolis, but it swaps back as Orellana versus Allen heading down towards turn 1 and 2, I imagine, as well. Just ahead. Oh, yep. As Allen goes to the inside of Orellana. And Allen still ahead of Orellana. Dyson versus Padilla. Once again, two attempts splitting the two cars. Cameron Dyson seems to have the lowest amount of downforce compared to the cars around him, but the Aston Martin gets the better run at the exit of this corner, and they'll go door to door with the Porsche. And it will be side by side. Dyson versus Padilla. Padilla slowly perhaps creeping ahead. No, the Porsche starts to pull away. You see, this is the high speed setup that Cameron Dyson has decided to put on, because the Aston Martin can't compare in a straight line when it's a drag race. Nope, the Aston Martin is starting to creep back at the high RPMs, and the Aston Martin going to the inside to take away the podium place in GT3 Silver from Cameron Dyson. Dyson now has looked behind to see Pascoe as we watch Garcia versus Brosius. Brosius in the damaged Porsche 911 GT3, the 6.9 car. Virgilio Garcia, who had to pit early. No, he started in the pits, I mean, trying to climb back up several places. Meanwhile, Dyson versus Padilla, once again, that's going to swap places once again. As we head into the second chicane, Dyson taking back third place from Padilla. It's chopping and changing, and I don't know if I can handle it. 177 ahead of Padilla. And this battle will continue on. They're both 4 seconds away from Manuel, I mean. As we head towards the right-hander. Once again, this is turning out to be a cracker of a race here. 177 as we see Manuel starting to pull away from Dyson. 4.2 seconds is the gap behind him. And he's going to be feeling pretty calm, knowing that he's not involved in a high-stress battle for P2 or P3 or any of the places below here, because this is a fight, brawl out for GT3 Silver. Pro, Karma. Amateur, Karma. GT3 Silver, absolutely high cortisol levels as we see Dyson getting past all of the few of these BMW. I think that is the yellow BMW of it was, I think, the rookie of Benjamin Burrows, as he does get lapped. Alan getting ahead of Orellana as Orellana goes onto the gravel there. That was the gravel being kicked up by Orellana. And now they're going to lap Orellana and Alan. Benjamin Burrows. But Dyson still trying to fend off Padilla and Pasco. He's going to want to catch back up to Manuel, and he has 3.8 seconds now between the gap as Benjamin Burrows. Blue flags for the BMW, and he won't hamper too much except for Orellana, who's going to want to get past, and he's going to be slightly hampered. He is getting hampered, trying to go down the inside of these Porsche curves. But Dyson, Padilla and Pascal all within one another, and that is a mistake from Dyson. Padilla is allowed to fight back door to door, and Padilla takes away third place in GT3 Silver, and Pasco looking to go for an opportunity to finally get past this Porsche, and it will be Dyson coming into the pits. And the only GT3 out of the top 10, oh, that is Padilla making a mistake at the final corner, and now he's going to be under threat from Alan in the McLaren, the light blue and black. No, light blue and purple and black going into the inside turn 1. And it will be a relative... Oh, dear. That is a front bumper missing from Padilla. No, it comes back, apparently. So it's Padilla still in 8th place. No, he loses the place to Alan. So Padilla goes from the podium in GT3 Silver to 5th place in GT3 Silver. And he's going to be under threat from Orellana. A bit of a better line for Orellana in the McLaren. Looks towards the inside at the entry to the Circuit de la South Straight. On board with Orellana. And not close enough to the Aston Martin. The Aston Martin we saw versus Dyson, which I thought was the fastest GT3. The Aston Martin slowly does creep ahead at the high RPMs. Slipstream, though, of 2 cars for Orellana will punch a wall at the air. A little bit better. We switch to the inside, go for a late move. Nope. Aston Martin breaks later and manages to not make contact with the McLaren of Alan up ahead. I mean, there's just battles constantly going on. There are no breaks in this race at all. As we see Dyson versus Lance, as we cut back to Alan versus Padilla. Yeah, all good. Lance having issues there in currently 14th place. Dyson 16th. Dyson exiting out of the pits in 16th place. And it will be Alan, Padilla, Orellana. Alan getting not the best exit, and Padilla will be wanting to get this place back that he just lost on this lap. This right-hander awaits, and front bumper to rear bumper. The Aston Martin McLarens. No moves in towards this right-hander. In fact, the McLaren gaining a lot of time into the braking zone versus Pasco. Pasco only 5 tenths ahead of this battle. As we are 35 minutes into this race. We saw a couple of GT3s earlier come into the pits, so there will be no surprise if everybody else does on this lap. We'll get that notice once Alvarez and Barron get close to the end of this lap, but heading into Indianapolis, Alan, Padilla, Orellana. Oh, is there any moves? It's close. From contact, maybe they're not contacts, just battling heading into Indianapolis, and the Aston Martin trying to set up a better exit out of this corner versus the Aston Martin. Alvarez gets a slowdown penalty in the race lead. Cannon versus Yang, they swap places. Yang is dropping places, but we'll cut and focus towards Eduardo Padilla heading into the Porsche curves. 36 minutes. And yes, Alvarez and Barron do. Oh, the Aston Martin loses the rear slightly, manages to catch it somehow and doesn't lose too much time. He might lose to altitude Orellana here. No, he somehow saved that. Well done to Padilla. He's utterly demented and trying to overtake these cars here. He's pushing extremely hard here. And Lawson, does he continue on? Does he come into the pits? Lawson does come into the pits as well. So this battle might be neutralized with everybody else coming into the pits at the end of this lap, which they do. Oh, yeah, just a cheeky move from Orellana versus Padilla as we bring. Oh no, it's a pit lane contact. Orellana and oh no, it's a T-bone collision between Padilla and Pasco, and that means that Padilla, I believe, speeding through the pit lane, a black flag drive-through. That has really changed things up here as we cut to Lance versus Odom. That's going to get looked at, definitely. The pit lane trouble between Orellana, Padilla, and Allen. There's no doubt that these Mustangs will also choose to come into the pits, as does everybody else. Alvarez and Barron keep their race leads, unsurprisingly, as Brady also gets a penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Alvarez ahead of Barron. We haven't talked much about the race lead because Barron did start to drop back from the Ford Mustang from about 15 minutes onwards in the timer. And Alvarez looking semi-comfortable out in the race lead, but he does know that there will be some pressure from a red, white, and green Huracan behind. But coming out of the pits, I believe that battle has been neutralized between Orellana, Padilla, and Allen, unsurprisingly, due to that collision heading into the pit lane. Everybody desperate for one another. A bit of frustration, perhaps, between some of the cars, as Allen getting close to Odom. In fact, I'm trying to calculate what exactly it is. So, Manuel in P2, Pasco in P3, Orellana in P4, Odom P8 overall. I don't know, has he pitted yet? Yeah, he has pitted. Odom P8 now. And 5th place overall in GT3 Silver. Lance versus Allen is looking to be pretty close. 1.5 tenths back, and Allen's getting a slowdown penalty. That's going to hammer him a lot, and he's going to have to relinquish that place to Lance. Side by side between the two cars. Allen not giving up this place. Still creeping ahead. Lance just doesn't have the straight line speed compared to the other cars out there at the moment, but Lance will have the better braking. In fact, I think the McLaren had to slow down there into the braking zone to not to serve the slowdown penalty. This is utter madness now. Ever since 38 minutes, I believe it'll start to spread out. I would say so. Not too sure. Cannon currently in 13th place. He is in overall. Yep, 13th place overall. As we head towards this second chicane, he's got 2 pro drives ahead of him of Yang and Lau, both 4th and 5th on GT3 Pro respectively. Although there is a 6-car GT3 Silver gap between the GT3 Pro drivers. Between 3rd and 4th, I mean. Lau versus Yang, that's going to get close. This is for position here. Yang defending, not really defending. In fact, it's Lau to the inside. And Lau taking away 4th place from Yang. And Lawson versus Sierra, I will have to talk about that because Lawson is still in 3rd place overall, doing very well to stay ahead of Sierra. Sierra, the pro driver, not being able to close the gap between the two cars. Lawson is looking very good out there. P3 overall, leading GT3 Silver. I would say that is a pretty good day out there. And we'll see what happens here between this. We're watching currently Mango versus Farrell. This is a replay of what happened to Mango, the 922 amateur driver, heading into the first chicane at the Circuit de la Sarthe straight. What happens here? And he's cutting over the curbs, and he just stops and slows down, and I've got no explanation for that. 6 tenths of a second between him and Farrell. Dyson does have a drive-through penalty. Remember Dyson? A bit fair ago, he was in P3 fighting out in the very fast Porsche GT3, the red and black. He's got a drive-through penalty, so unfortunately that's going to be his race for the podium pretty much over for him. Meanwhile, we're focusing on Travis Allen versus Lau. This is for position overall, despite the different license classes. They're racing in the same team. Lau to the inside of Allen doesn't make it too hard, visibly. And Lau will start trying to pull away from Yang. Will there be a bit of teamwork tactics between the two cars? We'll see what happens here. I don't know if it's... I mean, it says they're driving for different teams, but they have exactly the same livery, so I don't really know. I don't really know what it is anymore. But we're currently watching Cameron Dyson, who is down in the lower places. 19th place overall currently, heading into Indianapolis. What's happened here? The loss of the rear. This is the trade-off when you get high downforce versus low downforce, and with a low downforce setup, you risk doing that because you just don't have enough pressure, low pressure below the car to even handle the right to left-hander. Yang versus Allen, and Allen, what does he choose to do versus this Ford Mustang? They're in two different licenses. Allen doesn't look like he's fighting it at the moment. On the racing line, Mustang pulls to the inside, under 1/10 between the two cars. As Darlucia, Gutierrez, Padilla, Breedlove, Evans, Gardner all into the pits, the Mustang moves swiftly up ahead of Allen. Not fighting that particularly hard as well does Travis Allen. The American continues on. There's multiple cars here, and that is the yellow BMW of Benjamin Burrows, who is the only car to be lapped in this race. Has he pitted? Yeah, he's pitted twice as well. He's getting a participation trophy by taking part in it. Good for him. The only rookie in this field, so good on him for trying to and wanting to race. He's allowed to, as per the rules, but he is doing very well to get out of the way and not get involved in a few collisions. Quiet race, but that's what he wanted, that's what he needed. Travis Allen versus Yang, heading in towards the right-hander. Allen to the inside of Yang. Allen is fighting this, and he's going to cut across to the racing line. He is ahead, and not too much trouble for the McLaren versus the BMW. At the X, however, the Mustang under slipstream. Also up ahead, we see Lau versus Lance between the McLaren Ford Mustang and McLaren Ford Mustang. Two battles going on in those respective parts, also involving a GT3 Silver and a Pro driver. As we switch to Lau versus Lance, Lance losing a place to Lau. Swift move. Well done to Lau. Sees up ahead, a bit of gravel being kicked up by the cars up ahead. And we are starting to make our way towards halfway through this race. Can you believe it? I can't. And this is Salvatore Orellana at Indianapolis, and it's just an excursion onto the gravel. This is what kicked up the gravel that we saw when we were looking at Lance versus Lau. And Orellana facing a fair bit of troubles with grip, it looks like. Kamari Odom. We haven't talked much about Kamari Odom in this race. He's quietly made his way through the grid, gaining 15 places ever since the start of this race. Equally impressive as does Orellana, and Odom might make that 16 as he makes his way potentially past the McLaren of Orellana. 16 places gained for Odom. Well done to him as they go Lau versus Orellana, and Orellana also getting an additional place from taking advantage of Orellana's mishaps, and Orellana is not enjoying this racetrack at all. He's dropped 3 places in the span of 3 corners. I mean 6 corners practically. And now Lau versus Odom. This isn't for position in the GT3 Silver and the GT3 Pro standings, but it is for overall and a bit of pride. McLaren getting the better exit out of this curve, heading over Dunlop. McLaren of Lau looking for a move. No, we'll wait for the main straight. And yeah, not close enough. It's starting to get a bit of cloud cover, actually. More cloudier than I expected. The headlights starting to be switched on here. And we've got 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th all separated between one another by just under a second. 5 seconds overall as we see a Mustang darting from left to right on our screens. Because he's trying to break the slipstream of Lau, and I don't think that's going to help heading into the next chicane after this one. I've got... I don't really know, as Orellana gets a slowdown penalty, which will put him under pressure to Yang. Lau versus the Mustang. And also Orellana versus the Mustang of Yang. Up ahead, Lau versus... Oh, the Mustang breaking slipstream quite extremely there, heading towards the inside runoff. As Lau goes around the outside of the Mustang, braking later. It is Kamari Odom fighting back. But no chances there for the Mustang, unfortunately. And he's put himself to the clutches of Lance. It's going to be a Mustang versus Mustang pairing. Heading into the right-hander here. Lance to the inside. Odom might lose 2 places in the span of this straight. Who breaks later? Lance versus Odom. The previous one wasn't for the position. This one definitely is in class. Lance now up into P4 in class. Odom P5. And Odom can't do much about it now. He is tucked under the slipstream. 3 tenths behind the pink Mustang. The 3-2-1, I mean. As behind we see Joseph Yang. There's so much Mustang and McLaren to follow. I can't even... I don't really know what is happening at this point. Oh, I do know, but Yang heading to the outside. No moves into Indianapolis. Smarter. McLaren having a bit of a mishap. Oh, no! It's Orellana and Odom. Is that Odom? Yes, it is Odom involved in that heavy... No, it's not Odom. Who was the other one in that collision? It was Odom. Okay. It was Odom heading into Indianapolis. There's not much that Kamari Odom could have done better because he was sensible enough to take to the racing line. It's just a McLaren having a mishap there, and he's a victim, Kamari Odom, in that incident between himself and Orellana. Luckily, I hope, not too much damage to that Mustang, although it does lose several places. That's how close the battle is out there. That's Odom is in top place. Salvador Orellana retires from this race, goes back into the pits, knows the mistake that he has made, and yeah, Allen and Cannon both get slowdown penalties after going wide at the Porsche curves. As Andrew Lau comes into the pits for the 2nd time in this race, that promotes Lance and Yang up 1 place overall, so does everybody else. Lance is now P4 in GT3 Silver, Yang P4 in GT3 Pro. And that was a lap on board with Baron as he closes down to Alvarez. And Alvarez previously had a slowdown penalty to Baron, and Baron now under a second away. Meanwhile, Yang versus Lance, 2.5 tenths away from one another as we head through the Porsche curves. Two Mustangs, both in different licenses, but Yang wanted to get past the silver license driver of Lance. Yang getting ever so closer here and closing towards the final section of this racetrack. But no moves at all just yet. It's a brave move if you choose to go down here. Needs to set up the car for a move into turn 2. And so he does, getting the better exit. Slipstream at the exit of the last corner. On this next lap, this is the closest that Yang has been to Lance into turn 1. And will Yang go for it? No. Hangs back for now, but it's extremely close between these two Ford Mustangs. On towards the Circuit de la Sarre straight now. The 260 versus the 321. No, I mean 321 versus 551 Mustangs as Lance gets a drive-through penalty, culminating 15x points. That will give you drive-throughs. 15x every single time will give you a drive-through penalty, and that will hamper his race negatively, definitely. He's currently P4 in GT3 Silver, but as Yang gets ever so closer, he can tell that Lance does have this penalty. A few excursions perhaps for Lance, and that will end in a bit of a tragedy for Lance's good race so far. Alan getting a slowdown. There's quite a few slowdowns being obtained by a few drivers out there. I won't be surprised if we see a couple more with over 45 minutes of this race left to go. Yang, 1/10 away, heading into the second Mulsanne chicane. And it will be Yang moving to the inside. And Yang ahead of Lance. Braking later and makes it look easy. Alan, once again, yet 1 second between Alberto Alvarez and Baron. The ceasefire has lasted for about 40 minutes. It's starting to happen to close up for the lead of this race once again in the pro standings. Alvarez versus Baron, meanwhile Lance versus Alan. That's getting a little bit heated in the 8th, 9th place as well. 2 tenths, 4 tenths from one another, but we'll focus on this race lead battle. Never mind, we'll switch back because, yes, Lance is... Actually, I've just noticed that that penalty has subsided, it looks like. So, no penalty for Lance anymore. And he will continue on. Let's have a look how this battle continues heading in towards Indianapolis. We've had an incident here before. Let's hope it doesn't happen again. And Lance closing up tremendously towards Yang. And that is a bit of a gravel being thrown up by Alan there. Travis Allen in the McLaren. Looking up his head to see the Ford Mustang of Lance. Yang will continue on just fine, but the gap for the race lead is closing down immensely now to half a second through turns 2 and 3. We did mention a bit of a ceasefire in battling between the race leaders, and it looks like that Baron will be looking for a move very, very soon. I mean, we're 57% of the way through this race. If we thought it ended after 15 minutes, absolutely not. It continues on, and so will the other battles going on. I mean, these two guys are ahead of each of these cars, and that is off track for... Oh no, that is Zachary Manuel, the Japanese driver in the McLaren, off track at the final corner, and he's lost a lot of time there and a lot of positions. Manuel was in third place in GT3 Silver, and now he's out of the podium, heading through the final corners, and it's a mistake that everybody does around Le Mans. It's a typical mistake, and it just happens to you. And Manuel's going to be seething through the wind screen right now. As Lance versus Alan still continues on in this next lap. All good. Yep. Battle for the race lead. Alvarez versus Baron. 7.5 attempts away from one another. They are so equal on pace, by the way. I have to mention this. Although Baron is catching up. On the last lap, Baron was about 3 tenths quicker than Alvarez. In fact, Baron set his fastest lap time, actually the fastest lap overall on the last lap of this race. 3:55.990 was the lap time that he set on the previous lap. And doing that, he has catched up to the back of this Ford Mustang. He is pushing hard at the expense of his tires and perhaps fuel, but it's the only way he may have a chance to take the race lead from Alberto Alvarez, being very consistent in the 3:56.2. And yeah, well done to each of these drivers, because they are 38 seconds ahead of the third place overall car of Lawson. Gap is closing, and Baron is showing his hand at pace. The sleeping lion does not concern for Ford Mustangs, and he will be catching up to Alvarez here. I should have said sleeping bull. That would have been a lot better for the Huracan. But regardless, leave me alone. It's 3:30 a.m. heading through the Porsche curves, and we're 4 tenths to 3 tenths split between these cars here for the race lead. And the Huracan pursuing it. This is the closest that these two have been to one another for quite some time. Heading through the complex of the final turns. And you can see that the Huracan is a lot more comfortable over the curves than the Ford Mustang. And exiting out of the final corner, 2.5 tenths, splitting the race leaders heading into turns 1 and 2. When does the Huracan choose to pounce to get ahead of the Mustang? Heading into turns 1 and 2, you can see the Huracan just using a lot more of the track, a lot more comfortable through turns 2 and 3, getting the better exit out of the two cars. 2 tenths, splitting the race leaders. Just creeping over 1 hour into this race. 40 minutes left to go, and I can imagine that this battle will continue for evermore. And that is a stranded Ferrari on the inside, not hampering this battle here. Baron gets a slowdown penalty. He'll have to creep out of the battle here. It was a chance, maybe. You can see that he was pushing. Meanwhile, going back to Odom versus Cannon. Cannon's managed to involve himself into this battle between these cars. Odom in 10th place overall. Cannon now in 5th place, it is, in GT3 Silver. So Cannon climbing up decent places here in this race. Baron with that slowdown penalty, he's going to be ruining that, and you can see how much that has impacted Baron versus Alvarez. 1.2, now 2.2 seconds. Oh, what's this happened here? Yeah, so in the standings right now, zonal, Alvarez, Baron, Sierra, Top 3 in GT3 Pro, GT3 Silver, Lawson, Pasco, and Lance, Brosius, Mango, Breedlove, 1, 2, and 3 in GT3 Am. Odom versus Cannon. Odom does have a slowdown penalty, so even if oh no, we're not looking at well, this is a can be subtracted overall. We're watching Demon Pasco versus Yang. Yes. And Pasco trying to get ahead of yes, okay, so it's Yang going to try to get ahead of Pasco, and Yang looking towards the inside of the Mustang. Devon Pasco can't do much to defend it. Yang P4 in GT3 Pro, and Pasco second place in GT3 Silver. Shade into the pits. Pasco looking to fight back. Ford Mustangs, relatively equal machinery, the only difference being setups, fuel, and tyres. And half a tenth, it's practically nose to rear bumper. No moves into the next corner. Pasco knows that he might lose more time than it's worth trying to overtake Yang. He's got Allen behind that may pursue him. John Cannon getting closer to Allen. Meanwhile, as Shade exits out the pits. Once again, Dallas Barron, on the previous lap time, when we saw him catch up immensely, he set the fastest lap again at 55.4, and Alberto Alvarez matching Barron's previous best lap time of 55.9. So these guys pushing to one another, and Barron's even pushing even further to try to catch back up for the time that he lost during the slowdown. That slowdown impacted him heavily. 2.7 seconds it was. So a delta difference from the he's got a slowdown penalty again. It's all falling apart for the pursuit of the race lead here for Barron. John Cannon, we're watching him try to attempt an overtake ahead of Allen. This is for P4 in GT3 Silver. The MV Simsports driver has been doing very well, consistently trying to climb up the places, and he's now pursuing the front of this pack. You can see Lance P3 just up ahead. So does Pascal as well. Pasco, I mean. Yeah, so John Cannon with about 35 minutes left to go, closing up to the rear of Allen. Yep, all good. Make sure to support MV Simsports at MV Simsports on Instagram, X, and Facebook, and make sure to check out the website for mvsimsports.com if you want to take part in such series as this, the GT Sprint series. This is only round 1 out of 6. Make sure to take part. We're watching Gutierrez at the moment, the 810, the Porsche driver in the orange and black, currently 20th place overall, but third place in GT3 Am. And he's doing relatively well out there as Odom comes into the pits. Oh, that is Evans, 23rd place, 20, Jimmy Evans. And that is at the final couple of corners here at Le Mans. No, this is turn 1. My mistake. Turn 1, turn 2. And losing the rear in the only Corvette in this grid. The American driver pursuing the American dream, spinning out, unfortunately. Joseph Yang doing exactly the same in the other American car. Ships ahoy, Mustang. No ahoy there for Joseph Yang, sailing the gravel. Yes, so Garcia now looks behind him to see Padilla. Remember Padilla at the start of this race? He was utterly fighting everybody else, battling everybody else, but he made contact in the pit lane, and he goes into the pits as he goes for the second time. Yang versus Manuel. Yang getting overtaken by Manuel. Manuel goes up into 6th place in GT3 Silver. Brosius in the lead of GT3 Am. We haven't talked much about the lead in GT3 Am because he's had a relatively quiet race, but he's doing very well. Doing a quiet race usually leads to decent results, and so does Brosius. Eric Brosius, the amateur driver, well done to him. 13th place overall is not bad out of 28 cars, so he's basically in the middle of the pack. Well, that's good in the 6.9 Porsche. Well done to him. And we're currently watching Breedlove, Lucen Breedlove, 2nd place in GT3 Am, 19th place overall. SimSwag Technologies owner continues on to pursue a good result here at Le Mans. No incidents, no troubles here. Mango into the pits in GT3 Am. He's currently in 3rd place in the standings, but it will get overtaken by Gutierrez as we see multiple slowdown penalties between Yang, Manuel, and Garcia. I'm starting to wonder if we're going to see any sort of incidents here. Oh, Drew Cooper. Oh, that was close to the barriers, but perpendicular to the racetrack. That's not what you want at all. And he continues on. No stress there for Drew Cooper, the number 7 United States car. No, he's come into the pits. You're watching Brick Lawson. He's doing very well out there, staying in 3rd place overall, 1st place in GT3 Silver, 3.9 seconds ahead of Sierra, the GT3 Pro driver. 41 seconds, good going, behind the 2 leading GT3 Pro drivers. It's been a quietly and very good race. He's made and waited for some overtakes. We saw him behind everybody else in the train at the start of this race. It took about 20 minutes to get past everybody and stay in this position, a fortunate position he is in. Well done to Brick Lawson. 15 from the United States. Sierra, 3rd place in GT3 Pro, the Puerto Rican driver, will be looking to try to get a bit of bragging rights to get 3rd place overall in this race, but 4 seconds eludes him to the rear of that Ferrari. Lance comes into the pits for the 2nd time in this race. Does anybody follow? John Cannon does. And it looks like everybody... Most of the GT3s are coming into the pits, but some coming into the pits earlier than others. We saw, usually, there's a huge wave of GT3s immediately coming into the pits. Not this time, however. Alvarez, Barron, Lawson, Sierra, Pasco, Allen, Manuel, all coming into the pits a lap later, probably. And watching Alberto Alvarez navigate his way through the 2nd Mulsanne chicane in a 4.4 second lead ahead of Barron. You thought maybe that Barron could have challenged the lead, and he almost did, but a slowdown penalty stopping any sort of progress between himself and the race win. What does what does Alvarez choose to do here as Yang is in the pits currently? Off track 4. No, it's fine. Brosius into the pits as well. So is Garcia. And we're watching Evans versus Farrell. Yang gets a drive-through penalty, a black flag there for the Mustang. Evans versus Farrell. We saw Evans having a bit of a mishap at turn 2, and he'll overtake Farrell here. Cannon versus Lance is also getting very close here for 9th and 10th place in GT3 as they exit out onto the Mulsanne. Lance defending on the inside. Cannon taking to the racing line, but it's door to door as you were. And Cannon slowly creeping ahead of the Mustang, but the Mustang, we've seen this pink one break a lot more later than the others. Perhaps a bit more downforce, a bit more of a stable setup. And the Mustang braking perhaps a little bit later. So he does. Cannon is fighting this. And shots are sent. Cannon into 9th place. Lance in 10th, but he will be pursuing him, heading in towards the left-hander, the left-right chicane. We've seen a theme here. Mustang braking later than the Porsche. Side to side, door to door. As Alvarez into the pits, so does Baron into the next corner. Cannon versus Lance. Cannon brakes so much later than Lance on this occasion. Well done. Cannon, oh, he's off track slightly, and that's going to hamper his exit a little bit, but it won't matter too much. He hasn't got a slowdown penalty after that. And it's 4 attempts splitting Cannon and Lance. Pink Mustang or Lance pursuing Cannon, as mentioned. But you can see Cannon's starting to pull away. There's not much that Lance can do. It doesn't have the straight line speed. It's not a low downforce setup on that Mustang. As we see drivers coming into the pits on this lap, won't be surprised if everybody else does here. Sierra Lawson joining Alvarez and Baron, but Alvarez now pitting out. As we switch to Padilla versus Breedlove, this is Silver versus Amateur License. Oh, wow, that's close between the Aston Martin and the Mustang. Closer than it probably was in their screens. But, yeah, Padilla trying to get past here for 13th place overall. Heading into the second chicane. Three attempts between Padilla and Breedlove switches immediately towards the inside of the racetrack, then goes back out onto the racing line. We have just 25 minutes left of this race to go. And Padilla closing and further, heading into Indianapolis. Does he go for it, or does he be patient? Patience is the answer here. Sierra versus Lawson. That's gone extremely close, apparently, on the timing pages. That is for P3 overall in the standings. And that is Padilla going for a move ahead of Breedlove. Door to door, side to side, as Lance loses out to Manuel. Manuel having a bit of problem there. Padilla up in towards 13th place. Well done to him. Meanwhile, Sierra versus Lawson. They're both getting too close to one another. And Sierra is up into 3rd place ahead of Lawson. Baron gets a slowdown penalty. Lawson losing out a place to Sierra. Oh, and yep, still fighting it out. Sierra versus Lawson. We should have seen the battle before because they were extremely close to one another. Baron slow down. Sierra versus Lawson. Lawson in 4th place. Sierra in 3rd. Off-track excursion for Padilla. Breedlove comes into the pits. Padilla getting a black flag. That is a drive-through penalty. Mango also getting a drive-through penalty. And that is Padilla retiring from this race. He's out of the race. And it is Lawson versus Sierra. After the pit cycle, Sierra getting a lot better out of it than Lawson. Lawson's struggling on this outlap. Lawson's made this move before. He needs to do it again with 24 minutes left to go of this race. Also behind, you see Pascoe versus Allen for 2nd place in silver. Heading into Indianapolis, 3.5 tenths split the two cars. what does happen here? I mean, Sierra is where he wants to be. Lawson, this will be a benefit if he gets P3 overall. He is still comfortably first place in GT3 Silver. Padilla back out onto the racetrack in 18th place. Thought he retired, but he didn't. He does get a drive-through penalty, however. Half a tenth split between Allen and Pascoe goes down to 4 tenths. Wait and see as Lawson gets a slowdown penalty, so the pursuit for the overall podium is finished for now. A bit of gravel being thrown up by, I believe that is Evans, in the right, the blue, white and red Corvette, and he may have to back out here. Oh, he's put himself in between Pascoe and Allen, and Pascoe is not going to enjoy this. He's drawn, oh, yep, over the curbs. A bit of a mistake, and flashing headlights, trying to let Evans know that he didn't enjoy that. And in the background, you see Lance on the gravel as well, and he's struggling a little bit. And this was Lance over the curve. We see it for Mustangs, not enjoying this final corner on this lap, apparently. Terrell Lance doesn't lose a position, but definitely loses a bit of time. Is this correct? This is Brick Lawson. Oh, he's lost a rear there. And the pursuit for the podium. Will he lose a race lead here in GT3 Silver? That is one of the GT... Is that... No, that is Sierra. That's Lawson. Something's definitely happened there. And yeah, Brick Lawson's lost out to Loud. This was the reason why I thought the leaderboard looked a bit wrong. But no, that is correct. Brick Lawson losing out on 4th place, and Lawson getting a slowdown penalty on top of that. Luckily, he was so far ahead out of the next GT3 Silver, he is still in the race lead in GT3 Silver by about 7.4 seconds. But it's as it were in GT3 Pro. 1, 2, 3, 4, as expected, maybe. And GT3 Silver is 5th to 13th. And Brosius, 14th place in GT3 Amateur. Brosius in the 6.9 car doing very well out there. Breedlove going wide at the exit of the Porsche curves and getting a slowdown penalty. Lau getting a slowdown penalty as well. You're seeing a few here. We're starting to see black flags because of the fact that, drivers are getting over the curves too much. 15x as a reminder, each time you'll get a drive-through penalty. We're currently watching right now Drew Cooper, the 7 car, currently in 23rd place. And we'll overtake Odom because Odom has stopped out on track. And Odom is retired. He was fighting it out in the top 7 in GT3 Silver, but he's done for this race. Watching Mango at the moment, currently in 3rd place, the podium, ahead of Gutierrez. He's had a very, very quiet race, the 92 car, but he's doing well out there, staying in the podium. Manuel versus Lance, that's getting close. 1.5 tenths from each other. And Lance in the pink Mustang, he lost out to Cannon. He doesn't want to lose out to the McLaren Manual. Five tenths between Manuel and Lance. Padilla comes into the pits. Is that correct? Yes, I think so. Yes. Quite the fair eventful race. I mean, apart from Manuel behind, 56 seconds to Shade. And yeah, that's quite a fair gap there. Shade haven't having the best race. I think he was involved in the few collisions. Maybe I don't want to slander him too much, but yeah, maybe involved in the confidence. Lance and Manuel both get slowed down penalties, and they both have to slow down this main straight. You can immediately see that Lance tries to serve it now. Manuel will get past, despite having a slow down penalty. He'll have to serve at some point in the next couple of corners. Hopefully not into the braking zone or turn 2. He'll wait, perhaps. The McLaren taken to the inside to stay ahead. Emmanuel has served that slowdown now. So Lance loses out there because he wanted to slow down at the exit of the corner. Emmanuel taking advantage and being a bit more smarter where he wanted to take it. So Lance will have to go for a move heading into the Mulsanne straight. The gap has gone down to under 0.2 of a second. As they both go wide, no slowdowns there. As we cut towards a slipstream, the 13 car and the 321 car heading towards the first chicane here at the Mulsanne Straight, with just 16.5 minutes left to go. Lance looking towards the inside, doesn't brake too late. And Lance gets a slowdown penalty for cutting across the curve. So this pursuit for a battle will be halted for now. Shade getting a slowdown penalty alongside him. Yeah, these slowdown penalties, yeah, they're hampering a lot of battles here. But as expected, don't cut the track. If you don't cut the track, you'll be perfectly fine, as some may say. But yeah, Alvarez in a comfortable position. 2.4 seconds ahead of Baron. That gap of about 2.5 seconds hasn't subsided. Baron still trying his best to stay in the reaches of Alvarez, but these two are so equal on pace that it's only because of slowdowns that the gap has grown this big. So if it wasn't for that, Baron and Alvarez would have continued on fighting, and on the last lap they're only separated by 0.2 of a second, which around Le Mans is not a lot. You got to think about it. It's almost 4-minute lap time and they're separated by 2 tenths. That's ridiculous. So you have to congratulate these two for pushing each other to the limits here. 2.2 seconds separating now both Alvarez and Baron. And yeah, Alvarez slightly slower on that lap time compared to Baron by just under 1/10 of a second. Off track for Devin Pascoe, and no problems there for him. Good for him. He's only he's currently in 3rd place in GT3 Silver. Lance, oh, they both go off wide, trying to copy maybe Lance to Manuel's braking zone, and doing basically exactly the same turn. 1 second the gap between those two cars. I think that battle might take a bit of time to boil over. Currently watching Gutierrez, currently 4th place in GT3, and we haven't talked much about the amateur drivers because the fact is that they haven't gotten themselves into heated battles like the rest of the GT3 Silver and Pro drivers, like the maniacs they are. So they're doing fight. Evans, the GT3 Silver driver, currently off track at what is the final section of this track. Yes, Alvarez, slowdown penalty for the first time in a while, actually, as we focus on that. Allow into the pits. Evans trying to not hamper both Emmanuel. What's happening here? I don't know what's happening anymore. Cannon now up into 4th place. Manuel trying to pull away from Lance as Lance is stuck behind a Ford Mustang. I think Evans might have a bit of a problem with Ford Mustangs heading onto the pit straight. And Terrell Lance up in overtakes Evans right now. But that gap has closed considerably between Barron and Alvarez due to that slowdown penalty. And finally, Alvarez is back in reach once again. Onto the Mulsanne straight, however, Lance is getting ever so closer to Manuel. Slowdown penalty for Lawson. He's 22 seconds further back from Sierra. That battle is gone after Lawson spun out. Lance versus Manuel, door to door. Into the first chicane. We've seen several overtakes here. Who breaks later? And it will be Lance ahead. Gotta be careful about the cutting. Don't get a slowdown penalty because you do have the option to fight back. And the Mustang losing the rear. And that's going to be a compromised line at the exit. Manuel has the fight to get into the slipstream and overtake. Once again, maybe a bit of chopping and changing in 8th and 9th place. This is for P5 in GT3. No, it's all gone horribly wrong. A bit of a disagreement in where they were, and it is Manuel's race over. Missing front bumper, missing rear wing. Lau takes that. A meatball flag for Manuel. Lance struggling, and that has ended in tears. Manuel retiring. Terrell Lance will have to crawl back into the pits. That has damaged horribly. It's just a disagreement in the straight. Who turns in? You see it side to side, door to door. And who was the one? It's just slowly creeping the McLaren towards the right here. Yeah. The Mustang was trying to stick his steering wheel straight, but the McLaren tried to cut him off a little bit too much. And, well, that's ended in horribly for both drivers. Manuel, the worst off of the two cars. And he's retired from this race. 1.4 seconds for the race lead between Alvarez and Barron. $10 left to go. That's only a couple of laps here around Le Mans. If we're looking at the 4-minute lap times, which we could say about 3 laps after this one we have of this race remaining. It's been an eventful one. Battles all over the shop in all respective licenses. Those mattered a lot. And we're seeing a bit more of a zonal race today. You can see the pros fighting against each other, the GT3 Silvers fighting against each other, and the amateurs fighting with one another. It's what we expected to see, and it has so far delivered. Barron getting ever so closer to the limits of the racetrack. This is the reason why that these two are a minute. I was about to say a second. No, there are minutes ahead of Sierra. They are in a league of their own, matching each other's pace, hand for hand. And, well, on that lap time, because of the slowdown penalty, Alvarez is slower than Dallas Barron by about 0.8 of a second. So that's why, obviously, 1.5 seconds from 2.4. Lawson getting another slowdown penalty there. Barron is on the edge of getting a slowdown penalty. That is so close towards the limits. But you have to say this. He's doing very well in the only Huracan here. You wouldn't say that the Huracan might not be the most favorite picked car. I mean, it's not. I mean, there's only one Huracan out of the two leagues in both Europe and Americas. But he's doing a brilliant job here, the Australian, to try to stick to the Ford Mustang, which is a slightly more popular car in this league. So we'll see what exactly happens. Another slowdown for Lawson. Barron is doing everything. In that corner alone, he's gained about 1/10 of a second. It's very small margins here, and it's already creeped back up to 1.5. Alvarez might start feeling the pressure here. knows that 8 minutes await him for a win here at round 1 in the Americas League. He took P2 in Europe, in the European League, behind, was it Ansel? Yes, it was. So Alvarez doing very well to learn from the previous race, to get extra experience, and it's paying off for him. 1.5 seconds ahead of Baron. That, apart from maybe a mistake from either driver, won't change too much, honestly. That's how equal they are. Across these curves, you do get in a lot of time here, and Baron has, to great effect. In that corner, in those 2 corners alone, he's gained about 0.2 of a second. So it might drop to under a second as the cloud cover really does start to show. It's incredibly dark out there. 1.1 seconds now. It's starting to creep down. 7 minutes left to go. There is a bit of time left on the table, and Baron is doing all that he can possibly do to try to get into the slipstream like he was about more than 40 minutes ago now. And it's slowly creeping back up again to 1.4 seconds. Not the best exit comparatively to one another. For Baron versus Alvarez. So to best quantify what exactly and how fast these 2 drivers are compared to the others. So on the last lap, Sierra was set a 3 minutes 59.127. Dallas Barron in P2 and Alberto Alvarez are in the 3:56 dead. They are currently about 3 seconds quicker. I'm not even kidding. 3 seconds quicker than the next cars. These 2 guys, Alvarez and Barron, are in a league of their own here. Out of everybody else with 4-minute lap times or 3-minute 59s, and Alvarez and Barron with 3:56s. 3 seconds is an age, even at Le Mans. It's ridiculous. Joshua D'Arlucio versus Manuel. Manuel getting the better exit out of Indianapolis, is pursuing D'Arlucio in these last 5 minutes or so. The McLaren trying to get the better exit under slipstream. This is for 12th place overall and 8th place in GT3 Silver. Through the Porsche curves, Manuel does close up slightly to the back of the Mustang. And I was confused, but yeah, just taking more of the racetrack. I thought D'Arlucio was about to go into the pits there, but obviously taking the more racetrack. I must be getting a bit tired. After all, it's about 4:13 a.m. in the UK currently. I do apologise for the slightly lack of energy in this commentary within the last 3.5 minutes or so. But as mentioned, D'Arlucio versus Manuel. And D'Arlucio not getting the best of exits allows Manuel back into the fight as Shade gets a slowdown penalty. the better exit the McLaren has. And he's coming to the back of the Ford Mustang. He's going to switch to the inside. A better straight line speed than the McLaren. It's overpowering. The Mustang defends to the inside. Can't do much about it, however. He's already overtaken Manuel even before the corner ends. And D'Arlusio has to tuck back in of the slipstream heading into the corner now. But even then, it's not enough. Manuel up into 8th place in GT3 Silver, 12th place overall. D'Arlusio will try to do everything to fight back against a McLaren. As, well, the gaps are closing. I wonder if this is the final lap of the white flag, because where is so first place is currently on the same Mulsanne straight. I believe this will be the final lap of this race. Alvarez versus Barron, 1.8 seconds. It's slightly started to grow, and Alvarez has done his personal best lap time in the last lap of 55.732 to try to reduce any sort of possibility that Barron might do to fight back. In fact, Barron going slightly off track there, trying to do everything to get past. Oh, that is Drew Cooper in the Corvette, and that is at Indianapolis. It takes another victim here today, and this is exactly what happened. Front bumper and oh no, this is oh, he's driving the Ferrari. My bad, not the Corvette. Jordan. Okay, that Corvette was involved, and Drew Cooper, a bit too hot heading into Indianapolis, probably unfortunately wasn't looking for the braking zone, and he's dropped down several places and missing a front bumper. But as we creep to 50 seconds left to go, Alvarez ahead of Barron. They've been fighting out neck and neck with one another. They're 1 minute and 6 seconds ahead of P3. Utterly ridiculous, and they've managed to stick to just under 3 seconds from each other this entire race at the very least. Sometimes it's been even closer than that. But Alvarez has been leading this race for most of it. Barron, the pursuer, hunting. But for Alberto Alvarez being the hunted, it's been easier. Although the pressure hasn't got to him at all. What am I saying? Despite seeing a Red Bull behind him charging. It's the Mustang that prevails. The horse, the pony, as he heads through the Porsche curves. The timer strikes to 0. And this will be the final time that Alvarez will have to go through the Porsche curves. He can take it easy. He doesn't need to push anymore. 1.4 seconds splitting P1 and P2. As Alberto Alvarez, the checker flag awaits him. Barron gets a slowdown penalty, so even less of a chance that something will happen here. Alvarez makes his way over the final curbs, and he will come across the line to win here at Le Mans for round 1 of the GT Sprint Series Americas. Barron, P2, also gaining a drive-through penalty, not like it will matter, as Breedlove will come across the line to finish in P2 in GT3 Amateur. Sierra, 1 minute and 7 seconds back from Barron, will be making his way towards the end of this race. We'll finish in P3. That's probably the most he could have hoped for there because of how large the gap was. His main aim was to overtake Lawson. He has done that, so well done to him. Mango finishes P3 in GT3 AM. Watching Eduardo Padilla finishing 17th place overall in GT3 Silver. And now we see Sierra finally come across the line for a well-earned P3 finish in GT3 Pro. Gutierrez in the orange and black Porsche comes across the line to finish in 4th place in GT3 Amateur. Lawson, although not a podium overall, he can be happy with the fact that he has finished in the in first place in GT3 Silver. It's been a good race for him, but a few mistakes eludes him. Well done to Lawson for winning in GT3 Silver. He deserves it. Next, it will be Alan finishing in P2 in the McLaren. Well done to him. Pasco coming across the line to finish P3 in GT3 Silver. Then Cannon P4 in GT3 Silver. Lau finishes P4 in GT3 Pro. And Lance will finish P5 in GT3 Silver, 9th overall. So drivers slowly coming across the line now. Well done to all the drivers that finished the race. I believe a majority of them have. So well done to all of you guys. 20 drivers finishing this race on the road. Out of 28, I wouldn't say that's too bad. Around a 100-minute race at Le Mans. Lance finishes P9, P5 in GT3 Silver. And that will be it for the drivers that we see coming across the line. And let's see if we get any interviews in the near future. Alberto Alvarez, welcome to the interview pen. And an overall victory, although it didn't come very easily. You had a hot hurricane coming towards you very closely, constantly under 3 seconds behind you. How was the race?
How you doing, guys? Oh yeah, what a race. Definitely relieved. Didn't have the pace. Like especially at the beginning, he was way faster than me. But I guess he had too many slowdowns. And yeah, I had a few myself, but yeah, it wasn't easy. Like the car wasn't easy to drive, so basically every lap through the Porsche curves and the high speed, like it was so sketchy. I was like I thought I would crash like every lap. So yeah, with him behind, definitely not as relaxing as this afternoon's race. So yeah.
Mhm. Well, you say you weren't the fastest, but you did end up with the fastest lap at the end of this race at the final lap, 3-minute 55.318. But you guys were basically trading punches with one another, seeing who was the faster out of the two, and equal in time. And you guys ended up being and pulling away our third place by 66 seconds, which is absolutely unbelievable. And you getting off to a good start here at round one. What do you hope for the future in the Americas series for round 2 to 6?
I mean, basically, I have no expectations. I haven't been racing for a while, so I came here just like to see. And I mean, if every race is like this, it's gonna be fun. But let's see one race at a time. Like hopefully, some more guys join us for the next races. It it was a fun couple of races to start with, so hopefully more to come.
All right. And what would you like to say for our virtual grandstands here at HyPrix Studios and MV Simsports? Do you have anybody that you would like to shout out at all?
Gonna shout out John Cannon for hosting the league and keeping it going. I know how much work it is, and he's doing a great job with it. And you guys for putting on the broadcast. Definitely gonna watch it watch this one later. So yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. That was Alberto Alvarez, also known as Albi, here at the interview pen, our race winner at the GT Sprint Series Americas. Thank you very much for joining the interview, Ben.
Yeah. Have a good night.
And this is our race results here at the end of 100 minutes of the MV Sports GT Sprint Americas. Alberto Alvarez finishing in first place ahead of Dallas Barron. That interval because of Dallas Barron late drive-through penalty to 47 seconds. Then Javi Sierra in third place overall and in GT3 Pro. Brick Lawson wins in GT3 Silver. Travis Allen second place. Devin Pascoe in third place in GT3 Silver, fourth, fifth, and sixth overall in that lineup. John Cannon finishes in seventh, P4 in GT3 Silver. Andrew Lau, P4 in GT3 Pro, eighth place overall. Terrell Lance, Virgilio Garcia rounds off the top 10. 11th place, Joshua D'Arlucio. Eric Borosius wins in GT3 AM. Stephen Shade, 13th place. Zachary Manuel, we saw him have an incident there. He retires after having that incident with one of the Mustangs. Lucien Breedlove in 15th place. Second place in GT3 AM. Trey Mango in 16th place. Overall, P3 in GT3 AM. Eduardo Padilla, Diego Gutierrez, Wayne Gardner, and Scott Farrell ends up in 20th. Drew Cooper, having a few incidents here and there, finishes the race in 21st. Jimmy Evans, 22nd. Kamari Odom, Joseph Yang, Benjamin Burrows, Salvador Orellana, Cameron Dyson, and Patrick Brady round off your results. Round one is finished here at the MV Simsports GT Sprint Series in both Europe and Americas. Next one, 2 weeks from now, will be Sebring, a bumpy racetrack, a flat racetrack, but an iconic American track in its own right. And it's the second longest race on the calendar, 70 minutes long, 1 hour and 10 minutes. And we will see you in the future for that race. My name's been Jarvis Coyd. I'm being your play-by-play commentator, Julio Marquez, here at the production, pushing all the buttons here at HyPrix Studios. Aiton Benezra is our executive producer. Thank you for supporting us as always. We've been HyPrix Studios. This has been MV Simsports, and have a good night.